Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, November the 20th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week. Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody out there, and hope your week is treating you well. As always, as we start off, let me remind you of how you can interact and contribute to the show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at IT Spotlight 411. Remember, hashtag IT Spotlight 411 is what you want to use when tweeting at us or tweeting about the show. Make sure you use that hashtag if you could. And of course, on Facebook, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our page. Okay, so couple of things here to start off. First of all, no co-host tonight. Mike will not be joining us. He joined us on Thursday. I was hoping he'd join us tonight, but he is unable to do that. So we will not have him here tonight. He might be back with us next week. We'll see. I got to talk to him about his schedule and see what's going on. If he is, then good. If not, then we'll have to see what happens in the future here. It was nice to have him back on Thursday for the restaurant stuff we did. So no Mike tonight, so it's just me, which means the show moved a lot faster. No, which is ironic because he used to complain about me being the slow one. Yeah. So tonight, no Mike tonight. Now, tonight's show will be a mixed bag. We got some wrestling, so we'll do some WWE Survivor Series, which took place on Sunday, Raw and Smackdown. How about any other wrestling news we have to get to? We'll talk about. Normally we wouldn't do wrestling on Tuesdays. We've been doing it on Thursday, but because we're not gonna be on Thursday, and we did all the entertainment stuff. We did like a double dose of box office being on Thursday and all that. Kind of up to date on entertainment. Why not get up to date on wrestling and do that tonight instead of leaving it for next week? So we'll do a little wrestling tonight. But the majority of the show tonight will be sports. We have a lot of football to get to. College football playoff rankings. NFL Week 10, looking ahead to Week 11, plus our supersized edition of the NFL Picks of the Week for our show. We will pick all 3 Thanksgiving games in addition to the 6 picks we'll be making for Sunday's games. So it'll be 9 picks in total for this week. So we'll preview the Thanksgiving games, look ahead to this weekend. We got some baseball stuff to talk about, Hall of Fame. We'll talk about the James Paxton trade that the Yankees made yesterday and why it's important. We'll do a little bit of college basketball, not a whole lot, but just a little bit, and that'll be the show night. So a lot to do. We'll start off with the football because that's what we gotta do. That's what most of tonight's gonna be about is football. So let's start off with the NFL, who, look, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The season is what it is at this point. We know who our main contenders are. We have a few teams on the second tier that might be able to sneak in and surprise, and then everybody else. We know what the situation is now. The playoff picture is getting a little bit dicier on the AFC side of things, probably more so than the NFC side of things. As you've seen some interesting developments in the last couple of weeks, where things have tightened up quite a lot. The Titans, for all intents and purposes, look like a team that you could see. We've talked about them as a sweeper for the last couple of years, but look like a team that maybe had the inside track on that last that 6th seed in the AFC, because the Bengals had come back down with the Ravens injuries, come back down to earth. You had these, and then you had the Jaguars pretty much off the mark, and then the Colts looked like they were off the mark, and the Jets weren't going to be a thing. Nobody else in the NFC East. The Dolphins had fallen off, so you started to think that the Titans had that inside track. Well, guess what, folks? Titans don't have that inside track anymore. They suffer. Nobody has the inside track on that final playoff spot because it's like a 4-way tie now. I believe it is for that playoff spot. Dolphins 5-5, Titans 5-5. The Colts, who beat the Titans, the same Titans that last week dominated the Patriots. The Colts beat them. So now the Colts 5-5. Let's see here. I'm just trying to post these things up here. You got the Bengals still sitting up there. You got You got the Ravens still very much alive. So you have and the Chargers look like they lost this week, but the Chargers look like they're going to have that 5 seed locked up because everybody else is kind of struggling along. So you got yourself a race here for that spot. Now it could end up being very much a war of attrition, but still a war of attrition is still a compelling race. Things have gotten really interesting in the AFC. And the team that can control its own destiny for that last spot in the AFC is the Colts. Because they play a lot of the teams that are in front of them. They've already played the Titans, who they beat at home. They play the Dolphins at home this week. So if they beat them, they jump in front of the Dolphins. They got to play the Titans again. So they play a couple of these teams that can control their own and everybody on their schedule. The Giants, who have woken up, you got to keep an eye on them now. But I won't say too much yet, but you got to keep an eye on them. The Colts play the Giants. They play the Cowboys. Both teams that are showing signs of life. But if you look at the Colts offense, they're better than both of them. So you look at what the Colts have left on their schedule compared to teams like the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Titans. The Colts look like they are in the spot that Tennessee was in after beating New England last week, which is you control your own destiny. Go out there and try to win 4 or 5. Because I'm going to be honest with you, the way things are playing, if you look at the schedules that we're looking at for these teams, you match them all up, I would say probably 3 wins might be good. 4 wins probably locks it up. The way things are going this year. It's that simple. It's that simple. So if you're looking for something compelling in these playoff races, the AFC race for the 6th seed has gotten coming. Now look, I've seen some people think that the Chargers, after losing last week, might go into a free fall. Now, if that happens, then maybe the Chargers lose a spot and then it opens up a spot for somebody else. I don't think it will happen. I think they're in good shape. I think they're fine. But look, they've done that to themselves before, where they've had these look like they've been in a good position, and then boom. So who knows? Who knows? But things have gotten very interesting in the AFC. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, you could say the same thing about the NFC in a way, too, even though I think it's a lot weaker at that bottom in terms of compelling narratives. Because when you look at the NFC playoff picture, you look at the Rams, you look at the Saints, they're going to battle it out right down to the end for the 1 and 2 seeds. That's a given at this point, right? We know that. The Bears right now, after what happened to the Vikings this weekend, the Bears look like they're going to be that team. They beat the Vikings. They took it to them. They look like the team that's going to be able, if they, 1 or 2 wins, I think the Bears lock up a spot. They go. Do the Vikings go? That's in question. You think Carolina's going to go. They had consecutive losses, but you think that they're in good shape. The Redskins are the team that everybody's going to have a big, gigantic question mark on right now because of what happened to Alex Smith, which was a horrid injury, and we wish him a complete recovery. But you look at, they got Colt McCoy, and they're going to have Mark Sanchez back Colt McCoy up. Is that enough? I don't know. To me, I think the Redskins lost their chance at a playoff run here on Sunday. I think either the Cowboys or I don't think the Eagles, unless the Eagles win. To me, whoever wins that game on Sunday between the Eagles and the Giants is the team that's is still alive. The one that loses is out. Because you essentially have to win out at this point, or can really only maybe suffer 1 more loss. I mean, So to me, the winner of that game and the Cowboys would be the 2 teams that could potentially take the Redskins spot. And really, none of those teams I can't imagine any of those teams playing into the sixth seed in the NFC. I really can't. So maybe the Vikings make it by default. I don't know. I mean, Seahawks are 5-5. Dallas is 5. So Dallas is already 500. Packers are 4-5-1. Atlanta's 4-6. Detroit's 4-6. I don't think Detroit's got it. I don't think Atlanta's going to do it. Green Bay, I guess, has a chance. The tie might hurt them. So really, I mean, I guess an NFC East team could take the 6 if it stays around 500. I suppose it could. The Vikings got to play the Packers this weekend, so that's going to be realistically that's going to be a playout game, I think. Actually, no, it's a playout game for Green Bay because if Green Bay loses, I think they're done. Minnesota will be still alive; they'll be 5-5-1. So that's a must win for Green Bay if they want to keep their chances alive as they go into the back half of the season here. But yeah, I mean, you do have a race for that final spot on both sides, but I think the narrative is more compelling on the AFC side because of how close it is. Where some of these teams, it's on the NFC side, it's just you figure maybe in 1 or 2 weeks there won't be that many teams in competition for that spot. So I guess we'll see. But I think there's a little bit more to keep an eye on at the bottom than there is at the top. The top is pretty much set, and as far as teams competing for the Super Bowl, it's pretty much set. Maybe it's a little dicey at the bottom, which I guess is somewhat interesting. Definitely more compelling on the AFC side, but still, it's a very top-heavy league this year. It really is. Now, I thought it was a decent week of games. Nothing will touch last night, and I haven't watched the end of the game yet. I got it on DVR. I know who won. And I know there's been a lot of debate today about whether that was a good football game or not, because it wasn't classic football. There wasn't defense. Let's be honest here. The defense was basically try to get the guy to drop the football. That's really what the defense was on both sides. And anytime, I mean, it was one of the highest scoring games in NFL history. Your final score is 54-51. And what you take from that game last night, I'm going to focus mostly on this game because this was the highlight game. It was the game of the NFL season, a game between two teams that everybody thinks are the favorites, along with the Saints, to get to the Super Bowl. The two best teams, the best team in the AFC, the best team in the NFC. Now, look, we know the Chiefs' defense isn't that great this year. We know the Rams' defense isn't that great this year. Of the three teams, the Saints have the best defense, and that's not saying much. So we knew this going in. And everybody that's going crazy, oh, no, the defense is terrible. Look, the defenses aren't great, but that good offense can make a defense look worse than it is. And I think both those offenses are so good that they made those defenses look worse than they actually are. But to me, a good football game doesn't have to be this classic hard-nosed kind of like gritty, back and forth. A good football game just needs to be entertaining. It needs to be dramatic. It needs to be compelling. That game had that. The atmosphere was electric. There was good back and forth. You had good quality play. You had compelling storylines. You had everything. Just because there was a lack of defense in spots does not take away from that game. It just doesn't. No, I do agree that while to me that would be a great Super Bowl, that game last night, I don't think that's going to be your Super Bowl. I do think one of those teams are going to get knocked off. I do not know which. I think they'll get knocked off in the championship round, not before that. I couldn't tell you which one. I mean, law of average. The chance of an upset would probably be more on the NFC side because the Saints have already beat the Rams, and the Saints have proven themselves to be a worthy challenger to the Rams. But don't be surprised if the Chiefs get knocked off. Now, again, the chances of that happening are slim, especially if they have the home field. They have the home field. I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Because I said all along that if New England does not have the game in their building, okay, they're not winning. I think they can still get to the AFC Championship, but they're not winning the game. Now, look, is there a chance that Pittsburgh can somehow take the 1 seed? I suppose it's possible. But I think Pittsburgh's a very vulnerable team, and I think Kansas City could more than handle Pittsburgh either way. So I'm not worried about the Steelers in that regard. Are they capable of getting to a Super Bowl? Sure they are. But I don't worry as much about them as I worry about New England. If you get the game, if the AFC Championship goes through New England, then I don't think the Chiefs are going to win. Anywhere else, I think they're going to win. Now, that was a big win for the Rams because obviously you got the Saints chasing you. And they're not losing. So you got to win every game you can. Problem with this for the Rams is that, let's say both the Rams and Saints don't lose a single game the rest of the season. Saints already beat them. They get the tiebreaker. So that's, that would mean that the game, that if they face each other in the NFC title game, it's in New Orleans. And I think the same way about New Orleans as I do about New England. If that game is in New Orleans, I think the Saints are going to the Super Bowl. Now, there's some people that think even the games in LA, the Saints are going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But, I tend to put a lot more. I tend to not put a lot of faith in the Saints on the road. I never have. I never will, even though they're playing better this year on the road. But that game was a phenomenal football game last night. And I look forward to watching the rest of it. Phenomenal football game. And you come away from it looking at Jared Goff for the Rams, where he was 2 years ago, where he is now. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs. In his first year, he threw for 6 touchdowns last night in that game. 400, what's it, 484? 464? 484? I'm going to check the line here. 478, 33 for 46, 478 yards and 6 touchdowns in one game. I mean, for anybody that's been sweeping on on Patrick Mahomes, I've highlighted him all. I highlighted him before the Chiefs even started the season. This is a rookie. I want everybody out there to listen to his statistics right now, because I don't think people realize how good this is for any player, let alone a kid in his first year. His quarterback rating on the season is 117.9. Okay? 3,628 yards. 37 touchdowns. He's got 10 interceptions and 37 touchdowns in a full rookie season. That's this. I mean, think about the legends in this game: the Montanas, the Namaths, the Youngs, the Aikmans, the Favres, the Mannings, the Bradys, Breeze. None of them, not a single one of them, had a year like this kid's having. Look it up. He's still got, 5 weeks to go? He's going to throw over 50 touchdown passes in his rookie season, his first full season. If that alone is a story in and of itself, forget about what the Chiefs are doing as a whole. Crazy what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and what Jared Goff's doing, and what the Rams are doing, what these offenses are doing. These are 3 special offenses: the Saints, the Rams, and the Chiefs. Special offenses. And look, we've always had offensive juggernauts, even back when the game was not so much an offensive league. We've always had offensive juggernauts, but 3 in 1 year, it's crazy. And it's controlling the league. It's controlling the league. And as I said, you had that great game last night, which to me was the game of the NFL season. One of the best Monday football games I've ever seen. One of the best games. I think one of the most fun, entertaining games I've ever seen in football. I really believe that. And there was a lot of good games. You had the Thursday night game with the Packers and the Seahawks, which was a big win for the Seahawks. Knocked the Packers back. Seahawks got back to 5-5. Cowboys had the big win on Sunday against the Falcons. That was a close 3-point effort, which got them back to 5-5 and booted the Falcons back. This is what this time of year is about. It's about getting ahead of your competition. Seahawks did it. Cowboys did it. Lions kept themselves alive with a 1-point win over the Panthers. Again, keep yourself in it. Keep going. Colts had one of the more dominating wins of the weekend, 38-10 over the Titans. It's a complete dissection by the Colts. And look, we keep talking about offenses. The Colts offense over the last maybe 6 or 7 weeks has been right up there with the best. Andrew Luck had another 297, 3 touchdowns. I'm trying to look at the running backs numbers, but it's not coming up for me. Oh, Marlon Mack, 61 yards, that's average, but still, for Colts, any running game is good. So a good offensive game for them. And again, they control their own destiny here going forward. So a big win for them. Giants had a win over the Buccaneers, 38-35. Really shouldn't have been that close, but another great start by Eli Manning. Barkley was terrific. Now, look, the Giants have a lot of work to do, but they're very much alive, and they have to just keep winning. Redskins, we talked about Alex Smith thing, which was horrible, and a tough loss for them, 23-21 to the Texans, who are starting to kind of roll away from this thing here. It was tough for them. We'll see how they go going forward, but the Texans take care of business. They move forward, put their best foot forward, it'll be close to locking things up. Steelers make a comeback win against the Jaguars, who looked like they had that game in the bag. Not so much. Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers come back and win 20-16, so they keep their streak alive and continue to plow their way towards a playoff spot. Ravens, Bengals. Ravens find a way to get it done. Lamar Jackson, in his first game, carried the ball 27 times, 117 yards, and that was the story of the game. As they win 24-21 over the Bengals, who have just completely fallen apart. Those two teams among the 5-5 teams up for that final AFC playoff spot. So, big win for the Ravens. Tough loss for the Bengals. Broncos upset the Chargers 23-22. And again, that was a sign of the old Chargers. Philip Rivers, I thought, had a terrible game, even though his yardage and his touchdowns weren't that bad. I thought the Chargers all had a terrible game. It was it keeps the Broncos alive barely, but for the Chargers, a devastating loss because I think if they had won, they would be right up there with the Chiefs. Now they're not. So, tough loss for them. And now you worry whether is this going to be the same old Chargers where they completely fall off late here. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Eagles pretty much are one more loss away, I think, from being out of the picture. But that's a terrible, terrible loss to the Saints, 48-7. Never in it. Defense was bad. The Eagles look like they're going through most. They look like they're a done team. That's why I think the Giants might win on Sunday. And if they do, then the Eagles are done. Saints just put things away at home. Did a good job. Bears beat the Vikings 25-20. A very good performance by the Bears on both sides of the ball. Trubisky has been great. They really worked him into things. He's having a great season. Vikings, you just don't know what to make of them. Kirk Cousins has just not been overwhelming. He just doesn't play good in national games. Never has. The Vikings look better with Case Keenum. I can't explain it. And now they're very much in doubt for a playoff spot. You thought it was a foregone conclusion the Vikings make it. Now it looks like it's a foregone conclusion the Bears, who are 5-1 at home, are going to make it. And boy, has things turned. They make that trade, their defense gets better, and holy crap, the Bears have been great this year. They have a couple odd losses, but they look like a sure bet to get to the playoffs now at 7-3. So, good win for them. So, we had some teams this weekend that really put themselves forward and put themselves in good position. Some teams jumped out in front of their competition. And then some teams continue to dominate, like the Saints, the Rams, and and away you go. As you go into week 12 and Thanksgiving. And that's the signal bell that the season is coming to an end. You got 4 weeks left after week 12. The season will be over. So it's time to kind of it's the stretch run now. And it's about locking things up and putting them away. Before we look at Thanksgiving and week 12, let's first look back at our predictions for last week. See how we did, see how I did. I've had a bunch of 3-3s lately. Let's see how we did here. For week 11. Let's see, I had Rams over Chiefs, so that's a win. Vikings over Bears, that's a loss. Eagles over Saints, that's a loss. Texans over Redskins, that's a win. Colts over Titans, that's a win. And then Falcons over Cowboys, that's a loss. So say it together with me, everybody. It's another 3-3. That's been the story of my season so far. A bunch of 3. I've been 3-3 week 9 I was 2-4. We've had 11 weeks of the season. I started out well, 4-2. I was 3-2-1 in week 2, 2-4 in week 3. So week 4, 3-3. Week 5, 3-3. Week 6, 3-3. Week 7, 3-3. Week 8, 3-3. Week 10, 3-3. Week 11, 3-3. Nuts. A lot of 3-3s. Way too many. I guess better than under 500, but still. So another 3-3 for me, and now we move on to week 12. And again, that signal bell to the league that you're into the stretch run now. This is it. The season starts to build towards its ending with Thanksgiving. It always has, and that's where things get interesting. We will pick, as we always do, Thanksgiving tradition, all 3 Thanksgiving games. And then we'll pick 6 from the rest of the games for Sunday's games, week 12 games. So 9 picks in total for this week. And so we'll go along the way here and pick the games along the way here. So again, we'll start off with the Thanksgiving games this Thursday. Your first game on Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on CBS from Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. The 7-3 Bears, 2-2 on the road at the 4-6 Lions, 3-2 at home. It's the last gasp for Detroit. They lose this game, they are done. They will not make it. Bears can further salt away their playoff spot with a win here, and I think they will do that here. I think the Bears are the defense are just too good. Lions have been lucky to stay in as long as they have. I think the Bears have even shown more, have made strides even on offense. Rulowski has been great. I like the Bears over the Lions in that first Thanksgiving game. 4:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. The 6-4 Redskins, 3-1 on the road at the 5-5 Cowboys, 3-1 at home. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have thought the Redskins had this game, just based on their defense alone. But without Alex Smith, with Colt McCoy, whether it's Colt McCoy or Mark Sanchez, we'll see what they do there. Probably we start with McCoy, but we'll see if Sanchez has to come in and back him up. Regardless, the quarterback situation is a problem. Their offense is going to be a mess after. Look, it's going to be hard for their offense, especially this week, because you have to get used to a new quarterback. And none of these guys are Alex Smith, okay? So you got to get used to a new quarterback, and none of these guys are just talented. So it's going to be difficult on that score, on that note. And then defensively, I think the Cowboys can match them. So I like the Cowboys in this game at home. And the Cowboys have been a better team at home anyway. So Cowboys over the Redskins at home. Now, your third Thanksgiving game, the night game on NBC, 8:20 p.m. Eastern, 4-6 Falcons, 1-3 on the road, take on the 9-1 Saints, 4-1 home. This is the easiest pick of the bunch. The Saints will win. The Saints at home. Falcons have struggled. Saints have been amazing. Saints are going to blow this game open early and win this game easily on Thursday night. Easy pick, that one. So that's your Thanksgiving Day game picks. Now let's flip the script to Sunday for the rest of the Week 12 games. I will go down the line and give you the each game, tell you what games are on, and then we'll make picks along the way. I haven't done that recently. Usually I've just given you the games and made the picks, or vice versa. I'm going to go tell you what other games are on Sunday and then make the picks along the way. So first off, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern game on CBS. The 3-7 Jaguars, 1-3 on the road at the 3-7 Bills, 1-3 at home. Not picking that game because it doesn't really matter. I try to pick the games that matter. I guess it matters for pride for both teams, but that's your first 1 o'clock game. Another 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern game on CBS. 3-6-1 Browns, 0-4 on the road at the 5-5 Bengals, 3-2 home. Must win for the Bengals. Probably will win it, but I'm not picking that game. All right, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern game on CBS. The 7-3 Patriots, 2-3 on the road, will take on the 3-7 Jets, 2-3 at home. Jets are playing for a lot of pride. And then probably, I mean, look, their coach is probably fired anyway, so it's not going to make a difference. Really isn't. So you look for them to play better. I don't think it's going to make much difference whether they play up to par or not, because the Patriots are coming off a loss against the Titans before they went to their bye. They're probably not happy about the way they played. Yeah, I think the Patriots will win this game. I'm not picking it, but I think the Patriots will win this game. First game I'm going to pick is right here, though. 1 o'clock Eastern game on Fox. The 3-7 Giants, 2-3 on the road at the 4-6 Eagles, 2-3 home. Must win for both teams. Loser is out. Winner is still alive. I like the Giants here. I don't like the body language of the Eagles. It kills me to say it. I don't like it. I don't like the way they're playing. I like the way the Giants are playing. It's not perfect, but it's getting the job done. They have a little bit more confidence on offense. Their defense looks like it's a little bit better. I'm going with the Giants all the way here, just based on the momentum alone and the way that they're playing over the Eagles on Sunday. 1 o'clock Eastern game on Fox. 2-8 49ers, 0-5 on the road at the 3-7 Buccaneers, 2-2 at home. Not going to pick that game, but I favor the Buccaneers probably in that game. All right, another game I'm going to pick here. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on Fox. 5-5 Seahawks, 3-3 on the road at the 6-4 Panthers, who are 5-0 at home. Seahawks want to stay alive. They got to win this game. Panthers trying to further push their way towards a playoff spot. Coming off of 2 consecutive losses, I do not think they get a third. They're at home. They're tough at home. Both these teams play the same kind of brand of football. Only Carolina's a little bit better at it right now because of the players they have. They have a little bit more in the way of playmakers than the Seahawks do. I like the Panthers over the Seahawks on Sunday. All right, next up, we have 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. 2-8 Raiders, 1-4 on the road at the 5-5 Ravens, 3-2 at home. Another game I'm not going to pick because it's not a good one. So I'd favor probably the Ravens just because, but yeah. 4:05 p.m. Eastern game on Fox. 2-8 Cardinals, 1-3 on the road at the 7-3 Chargers, 3-2 at home. Chargers get lucky here. They essentially get a bye. Coming off of that tough loss. I like the Chargers here. Stranger things have happened, but I like the Chargers here. I'm not going to pick that game either. Let's see. How many more games do I have to pick? I got 4 more to pick, so I can pick that one. I can pick that one. So I'm going to have to pick, okay, I'll pick the next 4 because the Broncos have shown signs of life. So 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on CBS. 7-2-1 Steelers, 4-0-1 on the road at the 4-6 Broncos, 2-3 at home. This might end up being a tough. The Broncos have played better than people give them credit for. They're tough defensively, and offensively, they just do enough. So I think they'll keep this game close. However, I think the Steelers see right at the end of the tunnel. They're looking to close things up. I think they're the better team. I think they'll find a way to get it done even against the defense of the Broncos, which has really done a good job. I like the Steelers here, but this game will be close. This is one of those games you might want to keep an eye on for a shocker. I don't think it'll happen. I mean, they pulled one off last week, the Broncos, but keep an eye on that game. 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on CBS. The 5-5 Dolphins, 1-4 on the road at the 5-5 Colts, 3-2 at home. Must win for both teams. Got to keep winning if you want to stay alive. Colts are at home. They got the better offense. They're playing better. Dolphins are banged up. Tannehill's banged up. I like the Colts here against the Dolphins at home. 8:20 p.m. Eastern game on NBC. The 4-5-1 Packers, 0-5 on the road. The 5-4-1 Vikings, 3-2 at home. Again, I sound like a broken record. Both teams have to win here. Probably more so the Packers than the Vikings. Packers, are kind of that team that's kind of still there. They're barely hanging on. Rodgers looks a little bit better than he has been, but they just don't get the job done defensively, and that's been an issue. The Vikings just haven't looked the same. They lost some close ones. They've lost some tough ones. I'm going with the Vikings here only because I think at this stage, I think the defense is better, and I think that's critical. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Packers win this one. So going with Vikings on defense alone, but that one's going to be a close one, I think. And finally, the Monday night game, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. The 5-5 Titans, 2-4 on the road at the 7-3 Texans, 3-1 at home. Titans have beaten New England, but they've also lost bad to the Colts. You don't know what Titan team's ever going to show up. They have not played very well on the road. Texans have played well at home. They're in the middle of a 7-game winning streak. They've been playing really good football, both sides of the ball. I like the Texans here. I think the Texans are the better team. And them being at home and the way that they're playing, I think I give them the edge here. So Texans over Titans on Monday Night Football. So we picked all 3 Thanksgiving games. We picked the Sunday night game, the Monday night game. So we picked a lot of the big games. So that's the way I like to do it. So, all right, that's all the games. And the Chiefs and the Rams obviously have bias because they played on Monday Night Football. So those are the last buys of the season. All right, so here's your picks for Thanksgiving Day. Bears over Lions, Cowboys over Redskins, Saints over Falcons. And now the rest of the Week 12 picks. Giants over Eagles, Panthers over Seahawks, Steelers over Broncos, Colts over Dolphins, Vikings over Packers, Texans over Titans. Those are your picks for Thanksgiving and Week 12. We'll obviously look back at those, see how we did, and talk about all the big highlights from the Thanksgiving games from Week 12 next week's show when we come back after the Thanksgiving break. So we can look forward to that. So it'll be a good week of football here as some teams try to close things out and some teams try to hang on for dear life in the playoff hunt. So that's pro football. What about college? Well, wasn't much movement this week in college. Unless you're a Syracuse fan, you watch them drop way down in the race for a playoff spot, which, hey, look, we all knew Notre Dame was better. Just, I guess people are just hoping for a Cinderella story. But yeah, not much movement. Central Florida finally broke into the top 10 the playoff rankings today. So that's big for them. Otherwise, everything was pretty much standard. Alabama stayed put. Clemson stayed put. Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia, Oklahoma, LSU, Washington State. Central Florida went up to 9. Ohio State stayed put at 10. Florida went up to 11. Penn State went up to 12. West Virginia dropped 4 spots after their loss. That was the biggest probably loss of the weekend. Other than maybe Syracuse was that one. Otherwise, there was really no movement, and there wasn't a whole lot to talk about coming out of last weekend. It really wasn't. Just not much going on. Not a lot of good games. I mean, the West Virginia game was probably the only game that was a good game and a good upset. I mean, that's all you can really say. There wasn't a whole lot going on last week. It's unfortunate. This is kind of anticlimactic end to the college football season. Now, we still got time left here, but there's not as much drama as there's been in years past. There really isn't. I mean, Citadel kind of kept things close early on, but come on, you knew they weren't going to beat Alabama. You knew it. I mean, Oklahoma State West Virginia game was the only game this weekend. I mean, Ohio State Maryland almost came close, but other than that, wasn't a whole lot of drama this weekend, folks. Just wasn't. So now you look ahead to Week 13 here. As you move in on the bowls. And, time is running out here. This is the last weekend of the regular season. The last weekend of the regular season. What's on the line here? Not a whole lot. Oklahoma gets West Virginia, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern on ESPN. That's on Friday. That's a big game. Washington State, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox on Friday. That's a big game. Michigan, Ohio State. So I guess I shouldn't say there's not a lot on the line. There is a lot on the line. Michigan, Ohio State on Saturday at noon on Fox. That's a big game. Syracuse, Boston College, still a big game. Alabama, Auburn, 3:30 on Saturday, big game. So there's some big games. Now, LSU plays Texas A&M, 7:30 on Saturday. That's a big one. Notre Dame gets USC, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern on ABC. That's a big one. So a lot of the top teams play. Big teams on Friday and Saturday. So we'll see. Do I think a lot of these teams are going to take care of business? Yeah, I think Oklahoma will take care of business against West Virginia. I think Washington State will be okay. I think Michigan will be okay. Syracuse, BC, we'll see. I think Alabama will probably beat Auburn. So I think a lot of these teams are going to come out this weekend okay. But you know what? We haven't had that one crazy college football weekend. It usually happens late in the season where everything is thrown into disarray. And you look forward to it every season, and we haven't had it yet. Maybe this will be it. That on paper it could be it. So there is a lot at stake. Scratch what I said. I was looking at some of the top games, and I was like, "Oh, this ain't that good." And then I kind of forgot that the bottom slate of games was better than I thought it was. So, but I'll say this: if a lot of these teams survive this week, then I think the chances of the playoffs being exactly what they are now is probably very good. This is the last kind of weekend with full of challenges for some of these teams. Even if they go to the conference championship game, I still think they'd have a good chance there. So I think this is more of a challenging week than the conference championship games, really, just in my opinion. So not a lot to say about college football. Pretty much a lack of drama last weekend. And on paper, there could be some drama this weekend, but I'm not sure we're going to get that. So, and not much movement in the playoff standing. So kind of an anticlimactic kind of discussion here, but hey, you can't talk about things if you don't have it. There's nothing to talk about. So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully this is a weekend full of drama and things amp up in college football here as they build towards the bowls. So they have something going on here at the end of the season. So I know it was quick, but not much to talk about there, folks. Just not. So that's college football. Let's talk a little college basketball here before we get to the baseball. Interesting week in college basketball. Obviously now we're fully into the holiday tournaments. There's been some interesting stuff. We got Maui going on right now. We've seen Duke pretty much be a dominant force and doing their thing here and down in Maui. They played Auburn tonight. Took care of business, 78-72. Auburn looked very good. Don't sleep on Auburn. They are very, very good. Let's see. Earlier tonight, you had Lipscomb beat TCU. So that was kind of an upset. Right now, you got a great game between Arizona and Gonzaga. 39-33 Arizona leading that game. So that's a great game. Number 3 Gonzaga there. So, but Duke, of course, been very impressive early on as they've been challenged. Other highlights from this week, well, Villanova continued to struggle. They even lost to Furman. They're out of the top 25. Syracuse struggled mightily against Oregon and UConn. They're out of the top 25. So a couple shockers there. UConn's been impressive. Let's see what else other headlines there's been. Arizona State started off strong again, but that happens every year. Don't buy it yet, folks. Wait till January. Just wait till January, folks. Because that happens every year. I swear it does. Let's see what else. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's been. Virginia Tech's been pretty solid. And the other big headlines. Villanova was the big one. Who's in the Furman in overtime? Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's been anything else that I missed in my notes. Syracuse we talked about. Any other big surprises since we last talked about college basketball? Iowa's been good. They beat Oregon. They've been a good surprise with UConn. Early, they've been a good surprise. Now, Villanova lost to Furman, but they lost to Michigan the first time. Michigan looked very good. Michigan's looked very good. Very, very good. So keep an eye on them. They might be better than we all thought they were going to be. Yeah. So really, it's the stories of this week, in my opinion, have been UConn, Iowa doing much better than expected. Villanova and Syracuse really struggling, both out of the top 25. Duke dominating. That's been the storylines in this past week. And Duke's dominance, I think, is going to go a long way. I honestly don't see a team beating Duke for the national championship as long as they stay healthy. They understand a good. They're already mature beyond their years. They have the best talent. They have the best players. They've already coming together as a team. There's been no adversity already so far. Now there'll be adversity at some point, but Jesus, they look like a February or March team. They're showing a awareness of the moment. They're not afraid of it. I mean, they just look like a team that you just look at them right now, and they've already come together, and they look like a team that you'd see in the end of February. It's crazy. It really is. But Duke's been dominant, and you figure Syracuse, once they get their point guard back, will come into, things will come together for them. Villanova, it's a down year. It's a down year for them. They got to figure some things out. They got a new crew. They got to get everybody in place, and it takes time. Where you are now is not important. Where you are in 2 months is important. Very important. I mean, yes, if you're, it's hard. You put yourself in a bind when you lose games in non-conference, especially if you're in a tough conference. But you can still get the job done. Get to 20-something wins, and away you go. UConn's been very good. Dan Hurley. Iowa, like I said, looked good. So as a couple of early surprises, a couple of disappointments, and a team that really looks like it's going to be very hard to stop in Duke. And that's where you stand over this last week in terms of storylines. Now, this next week, there are a lot of good games of interest. Again, we're continuing some of these holiday tournaments. Again, Arizona Gonzaga going on right now. That's a great game. Check that one out if you're interested. That one on ESPN. Tomorrow, you continue with some of these holiday tournaments. See if there's anything good on the board. Louisville, Tennessee in the NIT season tip-off. Marquette, Kansas. Stanford, Wisconsin, the battle for Atlantis. Creighton, Clemson in the Cayman Islands Classic. If you're interested in Buffalo, who a lot of people are very high, including myself, check them out playing Dartmouth tomorrow on ESPN Plus. That's 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. St. Mary's get Mississippi State, the MGM Resorts main event tomorrow. And Middle Tennessee, who's a perennial bubble watch team, will be playing Virginia in the battle for Atlantis tomorrow. So keep an eye on that game. That could be a kind of like a bracket buster type game tomorrow. Nevada, who a lot of people are high on, plays Tulsa on Thanksgiving Day at 4 o'clock. Texas, North Carolina that day as well in the Las Vegas Invitational. And North Carolina, UCLA at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern in the Las Vegas Invitational on Thanksgiving night. That's a very good game, because both teams are ranked and both teams, I think, are evenly matched. Nothing interesting on Friday, Saturday. Nothing interesting there. Obviously, we have the Maui Championship in there, so that'll be interesting whenever that takes place. See if there's any other games. No, I need these tournaments. You don't know these games ahead of time because you got to wait till they play themselves out. Will be probably really good championship matchups in some of these big tournaments over the next couple days. Check them all out if you can. Michigan State will play Louisville in the ACC Big Ten Challenge next Tuesday, so that's an interesting game. Pittsburgh, Iowa. Next Tuesday as well, in Indiana Duke. So some good games next Tuesday to look forward to in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. So look forward to that next. Some good games over the next week. Check out some of these holiday tournaments, get a sense of some of these teams. Some good games here. Give you a chance to look at some of these teams, see what they got, and see where you're at. We'll do a college basketball preview sometime in the next 2 weeks. So, we'll watch some of these games to get a sense of some of these teams, and we can, like I said, it makes it easier to make an accurate assessment of some of these teams. But yeah, there should be some good basketball this next week, so make sure you check it out if you're interested. But yeah, that's the story in college basketball as of what's happened in the last week and what's to come. So should be it's definitely been an interesting start, and it's odd, but you already see one team that I think Duke's a lock for the Final Four. I really do. I think they're a lock for the title game as long as they're healthy. I just can't see anybody beating them. They're just too good. It's too good. And they've come along so well, so quick. So All right. So we did college basketball. Let's jump to some baseball here. We got a couple things to cover here, and then we'll do some wrestling. We'll get off because it is getting late. We don't want to be on too late. First of all, let's do the James Paxton trade because there's a little less to talk about there because either you like it or you don't. And I like it. Now, I'm just not liking it because I'm a Yankee fan. I like the trade because I think one of the most difficult things to do as a general manager of a team is to decide when it's right to part with a young player. Can this young player help us? Can they? What are we looking at as a ceiling for him? How long is it going to take to get to that ceiling? How long is it going to take before this player can help us now? Where's our team at now? Okay, we're a win now team. Well, how long is this guy going to? How long is it going to take for this guy to help us? If it's beyond this year, we're a win now team. Maybe we move him. It's always difficult to decide when to move a young player, or to decide to part with a young player. And that's why I imagine was going. And Brian Cashman, I think, did the right thing. I imagine it was tough for him because you got to resist the urge to do what fans do, and fans are tough because fans, especially in baseball, tend to overinflate their prospects. Oh, don't get rid of that guy. He's this, or he's ranked in the Baseball America top 10. You can't move him. That's what you get. Now, I am never a proponent for gutting your farm system. You got to have a limit to how much you move. And then you got to let it grow and evolve and fill up again. And then you make some moves again. You don't gut it. But you don't hoard every prospect you have. First of all, you can't because the 40-man and everything and the rule of 5, you can't. But you can't be afraid to make moves. But you got to make the right moves, and you have to know when to make those moves. And I think Brian Cashman for the Yankees did the right thing here because it's obvious to me that the Yankees were not high on Justin Sheffield. I think they were high on him, but I don't think they were as high as maybe some of the fans were. Because if they were that high on him, he would have been pitching last year before being a September call-up and being brought out of the bullpen. He would have been in the starting rotation. There was plenty of opportunities for him to come in last year, and they didn't do it. And here's another thing, too. Justice Sheffield got traded from Cleveland. Now, I'm not saying that every player that gets traded away means that they're not going to amount to anything. But he got traded from Cleveland. Now the Yankees have traded him. What does that tell you? That tells you that this guy, I'm not saying he can't be a good player, but it might take a while to get there. And some of these teams are not in a position to wait. Cleveland, when they moved him, was in a win now. The Yankees, when they moved him, were in a win now. Seattle's going to be able to wait. They're at the start of a rebuild. They can wait for him. And that's why this move makes sense for them. And I don't even know if it's going to materialize and help them. But I think it's going to help the Yankees because the negatives that James Paxton has, okay, are not really big negatives. He's 30 years old. That's not a negative. I know people are like, well, 30. Look, pitchers, 30 is still right in that prime. And when he's starting to come out of his prime, his contract will be up, so he won't be an issue. So this is a good risk for the Yankees, I think. Secondly, his injuries. None of his injuries are really arm injuries. They're all kind of like naggy little minor type things. You got to nip that in the bud. Hopefully he works with the pitching coach and they figure things out, I'm not overly worried about that. If he's got a history of arm problems and shoulder problems, that's a little bit different. He gives up home runs, and he's going to a home run ballpark. You can fix that. It's pitch selection. And remember, he's not pitching at home every game. So, I always think that that's something that you don't really worry too much about. Now, the question is, can he handle New York? We'll see. Sonny Gray couldn't. To me, that's the biggest one. Can you handle New York? Can you handle the pressure? He's a lefty. He's got the stuff to be great. If he stays healthy and he comes along strong, he'll be great for the Yankees. That's what you got to look for. And I think Cashman sold at the right time on Sheffield. You heard scouts and you heard the Yankees had soured on him. The scouts were starting to sour on him. You get him. You trade him when he still has the top value to get you something like a Paxton back. You don't wait till word gets around that this guy might not be as good as they've been hyping him out to be. So they got him out of here just in time, in my mind. Now they got more work to do. They got to go get another starter and see what else they do. But I think that was a good trade for the Yankees. I think in the end, maybe it'll be a good trade for the Mariners. Now, Sheffield, in my estimation, probably could end up being a very good bullpen arm. So maybe Seattle sees that eventually and they move them into that role. But they have the flexibility. They're not going to be winning now. They're rebuilding. They have the flexibility to say, hey, put him out there as a starter next year. Let's see what he does. Oh, we don't like what he did as a starter. Okay, let's move him into a bullpen role and see what he does there. They have the opportunities to do that. The Yankees don't have that because they're in a win now mode. That's the difference. They can play around. They can play around. The Yankees can't. So I think it's a good trade. For the Yankees especially. For the Mariners, we'll wait and see, but I don't think it's a bad one. Because they've gotten more, probably, but, guys also got a history of injury, so maybe that affected it. All right. The Hall of Fame, which, well, actually, before I get to the Hall of Fame, let me just do something on Adrian Beltre, because he announced his retirement today. Adrian Beltre will go down as one of the most quiet Hall of Famers you've ever known. Not quiet necessarily in terms of voice or quiet in terms of performance. Because Adrian Beltre, I remember, and this is going to date me a little bit, but I remember being in high school, and Adrian Beltre was the guy I had my first fantasy baseball team. He was with the Dodgers then. And I think he maybe had like 290. Wasn't average, not average, but maybe a decent year. Like 290. I think he had maybe 20 home runs, something like that. Wasn't a great year, but it was okay. Was what it was. So that's why I always remember Adrian Beltre. Now, if you look at Adrian Beltre's career, he didn't make the All-Star team until 2010, when he really took off with the Rangers. And that's really where his career took off. He had to stop in Seattle. He was okay there. But Texas is where he excelled. And it's a hitter's ballpark. I know what people are saying that, but still, he excelled in Texas. And one of the only reasons he's retiring is because he wants to only play for the Texas Rangers. And they're going to be rebuilding. They're not, it's decided it was right for him to go. But the guy was a great third baseman, a great hitter, an underrated hitter. Because he didn't just hit for power. He just could hit. There's 477 home runs. I think 1,700 RBI, something like that. He's got over 3,000. Adrian Beltre is a Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer, no question about it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But when he goes up there and he gets elected, everybody's going to be like, wow, I didn't realize Adrian Beltre was that good. When he goes up to do his Hall of Fame speech, everybody's going to be like, I didn't realize Adrian Beltre was that good. That's going to be Adrian Beltre the rest of his life. God, I didn't realize Adrian Beltre was that good. I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say that. I'll just be randomly talking baseball with somebody, and they'll say, man, Adrian Beltre's got some good numbers. Who knew? The guy did it under the radar this whole career. His whole career. And it's probably because he's played on the West Coast and never got into many primetime games. If it wasn't for those 2 Texas Ranger World Series runs, I don't know if anybody would know him. Because he was in obscurity with the Dodgers. He was in obscurity with the Mariners. Was he with the Mariners? Somebody's telling me he wasn't. I wasn't with Nelson Cruz with the Mariners, but I could have sworn Adrian Beltre was with the Mariners. I gotta look that up. Yes, he played for the Mariners. He played for the Mariners, the Red Sox, and the Rangers. I knew he played for the Mariners. Who told me he didn't play for the Mariners? Jeez, I knew he played for the Mariners. Um, but it was obscurity until he got to those two World Series, and all of a sudden he started making All-Star games, and at least more people got to know Adrian Beltre. But then he faded back into obscurity again because the Rangers faded back into obscurity again. But the man was is a tremendous player, and and he's again stepping away and doing the right thing for the team, but his bat will be missed. He can still play at a high level. He still can play. He just doesn't want to play for anybody else but the Rangers, and I can understand why. He's had his best run with the Rangers, so he's the first ballot Hall of Famer, no question about it. And speaking of the Hall of Fame, as I try to transition here, the Hall of Fame ballot came out this week. And of course, we've on this show have talked about the Hall of Fame. And how we feel about the writers, and how they never do unanimous Hall of Fame. We talked about the writers and how we think they're terrible, and obviously the question every year is will there ever be a unanimous Hall of Fame? This should and everybody thinks Mariano Rivera should be a unanimous Hall of Fame. He won't be because some idiot's gonna say no. It's like they're gonna say no about Jeter next year, but I don't get roped up in that. I just for me it's about making sure the right people get in. Well, I think you can say this year, Mariano Rivera most definitely get in. Most definitely get in. The question is who else gets in with him. My estimation will be Roy Halladay, not just because of the tragedy, but because he deserves it. He definitely deserves to get in. I think Roy Halladay will be the other guy. I don't think Pettit will get in. He had a great postseason run. I think that's somebody that if he gets in much later. Then you got some other interesting candidates. You got Todd Helton, you got Lance Berkman, Miguel Tejada, Roy Oswalt, Michael Young, Presidio Polanco, Derek Lowe, Freddie Garcia, Kevin Youkilis, Vernon Wells, Ted Lilly, Travis Hafner, Jason Bay, John Garland, Darren Holiver, Ryan Dempster, Juan Pierre, Rick Ankiel. Now, the prediction many people are thinking, Mariano gets in easily. People think because it's Edgar Martinez's last year on the ballot, he'll get in. And then there's some people that think Messina might jump up and get in because it's not a strong ballot. I would love to see Edgar Martinez and Mike Messina get in and Mariano get in. I would love to see that. Edgar should be already in. I think Messina should get in. But look, let's take away the people that we know are not going to get in on this list. Polanco, not getting in. Derek Lowe, not getting in. Garcia, not getting in. Youkilis, Wells, Lilly, Hafner, Bay, Garland, Oliver, Dempster, Pierre, and Keogh. None of them are getting in. Okay? None of them are getting in. I don't think Oswalt will get in. I don't think Berkman will get in. Pettit, I said, won't get in this year. I don't think Helton will get in. At least not yet. Tejada, maybe. Probably not this year, though. The guy that's interesting for me is Michael Young. But I don't think they'll let even him in this year. So I guess I could see this being Rivera and Martinez and maybe one other person sneaks in. That's how I probably see it going. But I mean, again, a lot of these guys deserve. Well, you can make a case for. If I'm looking at this, obviously I get Martinez should get in. I already said Mike Martinez should get in. Rivera obviously should get in. I think Halladay should get in this year, and I hope he does. I think eventually Pettit should get in. I think eventually Helton, Tejada. I think Helton and Tejada should get in. Those should be the other guys. I think everybody else probably shouldn't get in. Actually, I don't even know if I can make the case for Todd Helton. I think Tejada might be the only person I could see getting in. And maybe Tejada won't probably even get in because of steroid allegations. So I guess when all is said and done, maybe Pettit. I mean, Pettit had some stuff going on too, but I could see. I guess I could. Of all the players on this, Rivera, Halliday, Pettit. If they finally decide to put guys like Messina and Martinez, those are the only guys I could probably see getting in. If I really look at these numbers, because I'm just totally borderline, and then think about the allegations of steroids and yeah, I think those might be the only guys that maybe even have a chance. Really, it's hard to believe based on how everything's fallen. But that's also the writers too. I'm just basing on what the writers' tendencies are. So, I mean, I could also see this being Rivera and Halliday, but I think what they'll do is they'll probably being Rivera, Halliday, and Edgar Martinez. Maybe they'll stick Mike Messina in there, maybe just to get a fourth person on the platform. But well, you know, otherwise, I don't see anybody else getting in, especially this year. I mean, especially this year. Maybe not going forward either. Maybe unless Pettit sneaks in eventually, which he probably should just on playoffs alone. But the Baseball Hall of Fame is a weird thing. It just is. We've talked about it. We've criticized it. It is what it is. But hopefully, they'll make the right decisions and make the good choices and put together a heck of a class here. And I look forward to because I plan on going back this year. I want to see these guys, some of these guys again. These are guys I grew up with. That's when it gets fun when you start to see the guys you grew up watching. It's always fun, but when you see the guys you grew up watching, it's a different kind of fun. You get to see them, and you get emotional about it. You really do. So I look forward to going and seeing hopefully what is a good class here, and there's a lot of good choices here. So we'll see how it materializes. But I think Rivera is the given at this point. We know that for a fact. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we won't have to rant and rave about it in January when the votes come out. Hopefully, the voters do the right thing here and put together a good class. So, all right. I think people expect me to rant and rave about it. I can't rant and rave about it right now because it hasn't happened yet. Just the ballot's out. We'll see. We'll rant and rave when they make bad decisions. They haven't done it yet, but they probably will. So. Yeah, so all right, we did all the sports stuff. We got through all the baseball, we got to the basketball, football. Now let's quickly do a little bit of wrestling. And we had WWE Survivor Series took place on Sunday. We had War Games on Saturday. War Games, of course, another NXT home run. Great event. Great event. And then Survivor Series on Sunday, which I actually thought, if Mike was here, he wouldn't say this. I actually thought Survivor Series, as far as matches go, was pretty good. I thought the matches were good. The results weren't always great. I didn't like Raw dominating the whole night, but and here's why I didn't like it. If it was leading to a storyline, it'd be one thing. And I thought it was until SmackDown tonight, and then they dropped the ball on it. So why they were doing it, I don't know. But that's why I don't really like it. But a lot of the matches, I thought the elimination matches for the most part were okay. I didn't like Shane McMahon being the last one for SmackDown, and some of the stuff that happened there. Samoa Joe being eliminated so early, I didn't like that. But otherwise, the matches weren't too bad. I didn't like Nia Jax winning the first match, but they're kind of capitalizing on her heat, so I guess that makes somewhat creative sense, I guess. Charlotte Ronda Rousey, I thought was great, especially the ending. I thought that was a great thing to do to get Charlotte over. Apparently, that's the reason they did it. I can understand why they did it, and neither one really needed the loss. So they smartly booked that. Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar was interesting. I was worried. I said before, I was always going to be worried about this match and about Daniel Bryan getting hurt in this match. And they played to that in the first half of the match with, him kind of being tossed around. But from the time of the low blow on, it made it very interesting. And as a whole, it was a very interesting match. I think they did a great job with it, even better than the AJ Styles match last year, I thought. Because I bought Daniel Bryan winning it this year. I totally did. But all in all, I thought it wasn't I didn't think it was bad in terms of match quality. I thought some of the results were bad. I thought, some of the decisions were bad. But other than that, I thought it was okay. I thought Raw last night was decent. They wrote Braun Strowman out so he can have that elbow surgery. That's understandable. I thought they had a good match, 6-man elimination tag match there. They did some good stuff with Ronda last night that I thought was, having her come out and do what she did to get some of her good heat back. I liked the Natalya stuff with Ruby Riott. I thought they built that up pretty well from Survivor Series on. The Seth Rollins Ambrose stuff, I thought outside of the exploiting Roman Reigns, I thought was fine. I didn't think Raw was bad last night. I thought it built the stories well. As it now built the TLC. I thought it carried some good momentum out of Survivor Series, and away you go. Here is you try to fill up time until Christmas, and then after the holidays you get building for the Royal Rumble, because right now you're in that in between period now where things are going to quiet down a little bit for a while, and then after the holidays they'll build back up again for WrestleMania season. So, I thought Raw did okay. SmackDown I thought was terrible. I didn't mind the beginning with Charlotte. I thought they did a good job there. I thought the Daniel Bryan promo was great. I thought they explained storyline-wise the heel turn very, very well. Orton Mysterio was good. I just don't understand what the point of it is. But I thought that the Shane McMahon Miz thing was stupid. Everything with Shane McMahon right now is just stupid and pointless. I don't know where it's going, but I think it's a waste of everybody's time. You would think that, like I said, the whole Raw dominating thing would lead to a storyline. They were hyping it up like State of SmackDown's going to lead to a storyline. It didn't. So why bother with it? Why did we have Raw dominate if we weren't going to read to a storyline with it? I don't understand. But and then you had the stupid food fight thing with the New Day in the bar, which I thought was stupid. Waste of time. Oh no, I thought SmackDown was one of the worst it's been in a few weeks. And wiped all the good momentum they had going out of Survivor Series. So, they didn't have a lot of good momentum because they got dominated there, but still. Thought it was bad. Another thing I haven't liked the last couple of days is the AOP stuff with Drake Maverick. I can't believe what they're doing to Drake Maverick. I think it's horrible. I really do. I think it's stupid. I don't understand why they're doing it. But no, I don't think WWE's had a bad week, but I don't think they've had a great week either. I think they've done very well with women's wrestling. They got Becky, Charlotte, Ronda, and Nia Jax over ridiculous. They have 4 stars here right now of heel and face proportions here that are proportions, feel face or heel characters over here. So they're in good shape with that. I think they've done okay with Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre. I think they've done okay with Daniel Bryan. But they made a lot of mistakes. They've been very messy, and I think that there's some decisions and some results that should not have happened, but oh no, it's not the worst they've ever done, but it's not the best either. So, hasn't been the best week, but hasn't been the worst either. So, I know I rushed through that, but it's getting late, and I don't want to be on too much later. So I apologize to our wrestling fans. We just didn't have as much time as I would have thought. The NFL stuff took a little longer than expected. So, yeah, we'll talk more wrestling next week. I imagine things will pick up a little bit more. Again, they won't pick up by a lot because you're in that holiday period where it's kind of a lull. But I think you'll do a little bit more next week because the Thanksgiving holiday will be over and still have a pay-per-view to build towards. So this week I think they kind of held back a little bit because they knew that Thanksgiving that people got a lot of things going on and stuff. So we'll talk more wrestling next week, and I'll go into more detail and stuff like that. So. All right, so we did everything. I know we rushed a little bit at the end, but again, I don't want to be on too late. So without further ado, let's wind down here. The show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show, reactions, opinions, or comments to things we talked about in the show, things we said, topic ideas, or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, and wrestling you want us to cover. Questions about the show and the scheduling of the show, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 is what you want to use when you're tweeting at us or tweeting anything regarding our show. And you can find us on Facebook. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and make sure that you like our fan page once you find it so you can interact with us and contribute to our show and all that good stuff. Again, follow us on social media so you can interact with us, contribute to the show, follow all of our random thoughts that we post, all that you can have access to. Any last minute postponements or delays, we post about them on there, because obviously we don't know everything that's going to happen before it happens. So to have access to all that and more, make sure that you follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at IT Spotlight 411. Remember, hashtag IT Spotlight 411 is what you want to use on Twitter when you talk about our show, or tweet at us or directly to us. And you can find us on Facebook in the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and make sure that you like our fan page, please. I know I beat that into your brains every show, but there's a reason for it, and that's because I want you all to do it so that you can have access to all of that and interact with us and all that good stuff. So, especially for our newer fans. There are two ways to keep up the show and look back at past episodes. You can either stream us anytime here on YouTube. Remember, Google Plus is a thing of the past, so it's only on YouTube. So search for us on YouTube with our show title in the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show page on YouTube, where you'll find every episode ever produced since we started streaming on Google Plus and YouTube back in mid-October 2015. So if you're interested in any of those episodes from the last 3 years, everything from mid-October 2015 right up to tonight, make sure you search for us on YouTube and search for us under the title in the Spotlight 411. And when you find our show page, you can stream those episodes anytime you want. If streaming is not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us on the go, or just listen to us in general, maybe insert older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host site, Podbean and iTunes, and search in the Spotlight 411. And when you do, we take into our show page on both those sites, where you'll find every episode ever produced in the 8 years we've been doing the show. So every episode for original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. All the episodes from our talk show run from January 21 all the way up to mid-October 2015. All of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience. All in order from the most recent date to the oldest. That most recent date will be tonight's episode, and of course the first episode that'll go all the way back to the first episode, the oldest episode, way back in October of 2010. So every episode in audio format for you to listen to anytime out, whether you're a long-time fan wants to check an episode from way back when again, or a new fan wants to check an episode like that for the first time, or just want to keep up on current episodes, miss an apartment episode, want to check an episode again, miss an episode entirely, whatever the case may be, just catching up, whatever it is. Maybe you just want to listen to listen to us instead of seeing us on screen. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search in the Spotlight 411. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes. Your ways to keep up with the show and look back at class gaps. Just search in the Spotlight 411. Again, just search in the Spotlight 411. A shout out to my co-host Mike. Again, he did not join us tonight. Hopefully, he'll be back with us next week. Well, at the very least, we'll know what his status is, so that'll be good. So shout out to him. Wish him him and his family a happy Thanksgiving. So shout out to him. Hope everything's going well for him. And I'll pat myself for another great show. Pat myself on my back. And thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching and listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. That is it for tonight. That is it for this week. Again, this is our only show of the week. We will be back with you 1 week from tonight on Tuesday, November the 27th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We'll do our sports and wrestling. So we'll do Raw and Smackdown highlights and the other WWE wrestling highlights we have to go into. Actually, we won't do wrestling next Tuesday night. Wow, what am I doing? We only did that this week. So no, scratch that. No wrestling on Tuesday. Only sports. So NFL, we'll go over all the Thanksgiving games, all the rest of the Week 12 games, college football, college basketball, any other big baseball, how I intend towards the winter meetings. All that will be on Tuesday's show. And then next Thursday, November the 29th, we'll be back to 2 shows, obviously, next week. So next Thursday, we'll have a show. And that will be the show we do wrestling. So Raw and Smackdown, highlights any other WWE wrestling headlines we'll do. Then, of course, we'll bring back our entertainment segments. We'll cover 2 weeks' worth of box office beats as far as recapping, look ahead to the upcoming box office, TV highlights, any other entertainment news we have to do. We'll do all that on next Thursday's show. So that next week, back to normal with 2 shows. And that, of course, will take us right into Christmas. So until next week, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, a great start to your week next week. Also have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, please be safe. And enjoy your time with your family and friends. Remember what the holiday's about, too. You know, I don't want to be a hypocrite here. I really don't. Because I'm going to go do it too, because I want to save money. I have a child now, and you know we have to do Christmas gifts and stuff like that. But please remember, it's not about shopping. Okay, it is Thanksgiving. I wish the stores would get that point and push their stores back. I mean, their hours back. I really would, but they're not going to. But please remember the purpose of the holiday. The holiday comes first. Be with family and friends. Cherish those moments, and enjoy them. That's what it's about. So just remember that. I don't want to sound like I'm lecturing or anything, but that's something that's important to me. So, all right. So enjoy your holiday. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you back here 1 week from tonight. On November 27th at 10 o'clock from Eastern Time here on YouTube. Until then, have a good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.